Believe it or not, this is the time of year when bands start booking it for festivals.
Very true,
and we
Graham.
want to get on some of those festivals in summer, yeah? Because we're good enough.
Hello folks, hope you're well. We've been away for a little while. It's going to be Glastonbury weekend when you watch this, so I thought instead of explaining why we've been away, we just jump straight back into the first video. And I thought I'd tell you the story of how my band played at Glastonbury in 2008, how we managed to play the festival, and what it was like to play at it.
Are we going for a walk? Yeah,
There we go.
good boy. Who's coming with me then? Come on then. Yeah.
So let's wind the clock back to 2007. I was in a band called Young Runaways, and it was me and my songwriting partner Graham, who I've mentioned on the channel before. And basically I say we were in a band, we weren't really doing much of anything at that point, but we thought, well, let's be positive for the new year and let's apply for some festivals. And obviously, if you're applying for festivals in the UK, Glastonbury is on the list. So how it used to work, and I think still does, is if you're an unsigned band, you apply to play Glastonbury via the Emerging Talent Competition. And that is for all intents and purposes, battle of the bands that can result in you getting a slot on Glastonbury. So that's what we did. We had a couple of songs recorded from the remains of our old band, which was still the same band, but just a bunch of people had left, so it was just me and Gray. And we sent one of those songs off, and if we've been really clever about it, you'll probably hear that song in the background now. So this is going back to the days of MySpace, right? This is how long ago that was. And I think whether you provided the MySpace link or you sent the song and basically forgot about it for a few months. After Christmas, the long list comes out, which is 120 bands. And then from there, it gets whittled down to the final 12, which go to play at the final, if you like, of the competition, which is actually a battle of the bands in the traditional sense. You know, like you turn up and you've never met these bands and you all play a little set and then they decide who the winner is. And we got down to the final. The chances of going from the last 120 down to the final 12 is pretty slim, really, isn't it? And I never win anything. As I say, we forgot about it, and that year I went on holiday with the bass player in the band, and I got a voicemail off Graham telling me that we'd made it down to the last 12. So obviously that night turned into a bit of a celebration, and then that changed everything really, because through all of that we didn't have a band, we hadn't done a single rehearsal, we hadn't played any shows, we had no band. So the only gig we had in the diary was an audition to play at the Glastonbury Festival, the Battle of the Bands, the Emerging Talent Competition. So the first thing we had to do was to find a band.
And that is where I came in. So I remember the previous year watching Glasto footage on TV and thinking that looks so cool, I wish I was there. And also it was one particular band, it was Arcade Fire, and they played on the other stage, and I just remember thinking not only how cool it would be to be at the festival, but also how much I'd love to actually play something like that.
A violin player.
Well, I think that was the thing, because I'd never really thought that, like, the thought had not even come into my head to be in a band, because I'm a classical musician, really. Like, I play violin, like my second instrument is piano. It was never something that I'd really done, apart from a bit of kind of messing about with my mates when I was a teenager, like playing like songs by Garbage and stuff like that. It'd never been something that I'd seriously considered. And then I was like, actually, that'd be quite cool. My mum gave me this notepad for my birthday, and she was like, this is your dream notepad, write all your dreams, even if they're a bit like pie in the sky. And I remember the first thing I thought was, play Glastonbury. Anyway, So that was like June 2007, but my story really started in January of 2008. I was sat in the sort of foyer of my uni building. I was in the third year of uni, had a lot of coursework on, I was drinking a cup of coffee, and then my brother called, my brother being Graham, who was at the time the other lead singer of Young Runaways, as they were in 2008. And he was like, do you fancy joining the band with me and Matt, and I don't know who else was in the band at the time, but he was like, do you fancy playing violin in our band?
And I was obviously fine with that.
Also, we're maybe playing Glastonbury. I was like, yeah, definitely. I would be up for that. So, in a nutshell, I said yes and I joined the band.
So by early 2008, we had a band. We had me, Lucy, Jay, Graham, and a drummer, my friend Paul. And we had to figure out what we were going to do. So we started rehearsing regularly as we could, obviously. And we booked a little show in Birmingham, I think, which was going to be sort of a Glastonbury warm-up. Okay, cool. Eventually the audition rolled around, and it was the day that we had to travel down to Pilton Working Men's Club. Pilton's the town basically next door to Glastonbury, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we did the audition. Now, to tell you a little bit about the audition, we rocked up. It was just like any other gig, really. It was literally a working men's club.
Yeah, it's like just a little small, like, social club type place, wasn't it?
Yeah. Old school working men's club, but with like an amazing PA in there, like a ridiculous PA for a working men's club.
Yeah.
And there was nothing unusual about that at all, other than the fact that Michael Evers was there, Hugh Stevens was there, and a bunch of other, industry bods who were there in the capacity to judge us. So we set up, sound check, really good sound check. The whole event was as you'd expect.
It was really well organised, wasn't it?
Incredibly well organised and slick. And we took a bus down from Wolverhampton, so there was the band and we just took a bunch of our friends as well, because why wouldn't you really? And still, maybe it's the Midlands thing, but we were just like, there's just no way we're going to win this. And sadly, we didn't. We played a great set. We did, considering, literally 2 months earlier there was no band. We played really well.
Yeah.
As well as we could have. And there's a great photo of Michael Evers coming up on stage and shaking hands with Graham. And Gray played so hard, he put so much effort in. His strumming hand was like bleeding. And so he bled all over Michael Evers. And that was the first of many weird things around the Glastonbury experience. We always said that was our contract to play Glastonbury.
Signed in blood.
They had you put through school, made sure you had everything that you need. In the apathy you called, with a bottle of the finest blend, you took the mountains on with all your friends. With caution to the winds, that was always the way.
The competition was split over 2 nights, and we were the first of 2 nights, so there was like 6 bands. And then another 6 bands on like the second night, and so we didn't even know until we got home what the outcome of it was. I think either way we didn't leave feeling like...
We didn't leave knowing what the result was.
Yeah.
But we did get the result and we didn't win. But we did get offered a slot on the festival.
Yeah, I think all the bands actually managed to get a slot at sort of one stage or other, which was quite nice really, so...
And the slot that we got at the festival was on the left field stage. And so that really is the end of the first part of the story, in that we got on the festival and then we had Glastonbury in the diary for 2008, which was pretty exciting. So let's pick up the story at the Glastonbury weekend. Glastonbury, as you know, is a weekend festival, but you can go down as early as the Wednesday. So we hired a van early that week, and we drove down on the Thursday. Now, there were no prizes for losing the Glastonbury Emerging Talent competition, other than obviously we still got to play, so that's kind of a prize. But also, you don't just have to go in for the half an hour that you're playing. We got tickets for the whole weekend, so that is the first cool thing to say about it, is that that's the one and only time I've been to Glastonbury. That's the time I played it, and we had all the setup to do the weekend, the tents, everything else, and we arrived Thursday lunchtime, I think.
Yeah, it was like middle of the day Thursday, and it was quite like wet and miserable, as it often is. But the rest of the weekend was actually really nice and sunny. I think we got quite lucky with the weather, to be honest. But
so we get there.
Here I am talking about the weather. Get to the interesting stuff.
So we pitch up at Glastonbury, and we've got all the gear, and we've got all our equipment. I feel like we dropped the equipment off somewhere. Or maybe we left it
near the stage.
Yeah, or left it in a secure car park. Either way, what happened then was we loaded in with everyone else, with the regular punters. So we just, queued into the festival as regular punters and found camping as regular punters. And we set up, and then basically that was our little spot for the whole weekend at that point. And we based ourselves, I think it was like at the back of the John Peel stage. We had a great spot, to be fair, and the camping was good, apart from when it rains, but that's camping. And we spent the first day having a little look around the site, didn't we? And having a bit of fun.
The good thing about it is there is like some music going on the first couple of days. Like the proper sort of the main acts don't start till the Friday, but there is still quite a lot to do and see. So.
Is when we played. So our slot on the left field stage was on the Friday. So we wake up on the Friday morning and it is gig day. We've got a late afternoon slot, I think.
I think it was 6 p.m, but I might be wrong. We're going back 16 years. So,
so we've basically got the whole day to get ready. And as with any gig, you don't just turn up at 2 minutes to stage time. You've got to get there, set up. And we didn't know whether we'd have a sound check. We thought we probably wouldn't. Probably have a line check, which is usual for festivals. You're going to turn up, you're going to check your instruments, etc. I honestly don't remember too much about the rest of that day. Leading up to it, I wasn't that nervous, but it's kind of all a bit of a blur now. Actually getting to the stage. More on that later though.
I was definitely nervous. I actually had my violin in the tent and I was practicing like in the hours before the gig. Anyway.
So we had breakfast, and the first port of call, obviously all our gear is still in the van. The first order of business for the day was out to the van, which is in the car park. So that's a 15-minute walk from the campsite. So we actually had to pass out of the festival into the car park, unload the gear out the van, and then get it to this other spot. I don't remember how far away it was, but we had to walk the gear some distance from the van to this meet-up spot, right?
It's a big festival, isn't it? Anyone who's been there knows that.
Everything is bigger than you think it is with Glastonbury. It's like if you think it's going to be a 5-minute walk, it's like it's like a half an hour walk. So really, there's no way we could have humped the gear from the car to the stage. So we get to the little meet-up spot and we're waiting there, and then this golf buggy turns up.
Hello, Peanut.
Go ahead.
He's coming to join in. So yeah, we all hopped on this kind of roofless sort of buggy thing.
Or was it a Land Rover?
Well, I don't know, but it didn't have a roof anyway, and we were sort of being driven there with all the gear in the back, like kind of rattling around like this, and then.
Yeah, well, and then this is the one of it. So this is another Glastonbury weird thing. We're on the way to the stage, and the guy's got the radio on, and he's got Worthy FM on. Worthy FM is the local radio station, and we're all talking amongst ourselves, and then we hear the intro to one of our songs come on, and we're all like, what?
That's just randomly playing now.
So that was obviously really cool. So if Lucy's worked some editing magic, the song you'll be hearing now, maybe it's already started, is the song that we were listening to in the van on the way to the stage to play our slot at Glastonbury, which is pretty cool. The song is called Our Names, and it's cool. It's one of our great.
It's one of our greatest
It's one of our
hits.
It's one of our great. It's one of our greatest hits. But
Who wrote it?
It was Graham wrote it, and then we recorded it. We'd only released it literally the month before, because we put out an EP, obviously, because we're playing Glastonbury. So that's cool. And then I guess we get to the stage. So I remember this quite clearly. Basically, the little buggy or whatever, Land Rover buggy or whatever it was, pulls up at the back of the stage, and we're looking up at the stage, and I'm like, jeez.
It's big.
And it's like one of those like proper full-size like outdoor tents, you know, like the main kind of, it's not the main stage, but it's like those massive tents that they've got at Glastonbury, and we're like, jeez, we're playing here. Never seen the stage before. This was all of our first times at Glastonbury, I think. Did you go before?
No.
No, so none of us had ever been to Glastonbury, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah,
and from
serious.
there, it was like just Mr. Efficiency. Again, I don't remember much about any of the rest of that, but it was super slick. Somebody meets us to pick up the gear. The gear goes in. We didn't even have to like lift it on stage. I had my guitar, like all the amps went on stage. They asked us where we wanted to be on stage. Somebody did that for us. Super smooth, and we get ushered through to the backstage area where we had our own Portakabin dressing room
With a rider as well.
so maybe I think we've got some pictures of our dressing room
with our name on the front, the band
Oh,
name. I think there's a picture of you pointing to our name on the front of the door of this Portakabin. And I'm pretty sure that the person who was in that particular Portakabin just before we were using
was
it,
none other than
Kate Nash.
Kate Nash, legend. Which, you know, it's obviously super cool. So we
didn't see her.
didn't see it, but what we did see was that she had left a not
insignificant.
That's what I'm looking for. But she had left a not insignificant amount of her rider. So we added that to our rider. We got a rider, which was like, you know, the usual stuff: beer, bottles of water, crisps, I'd say.
Some lemonade. Some Coca-Cola.
Yeah. So we really, that was the first time. I mean, we'd been a band at that point for. I mean, me and Graham had been doing it for 10 years, but we had been a band, as in the five of us, for 5 months at the most.
Yeah.
And we're like standing around backstage at Glastonbury in the dressing room with our name on it, just going,
What is this?
just go, well, this is it, isn't it?
This is it. We're famous.
Well,
We've
yeah,
made it.
yeah, and like, you know, and I think we definitely all thought at that moment, well, this, you know,
This is how it happens.
this is how it happens. This is like this is Beatlemania, isn't it? And then this time next year we'll be millionaires. Of course, that isn't at all how it happens for most people. But that's not the point.
It's a youthful enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Shall
all
we
good.
get back
Don't
to the
knock it.
story?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, what did you think about? What do you remember being backstage before? I don't remember anything about being backstage at all.
No, I
Really?
just remember
Other than that, what the
one
photos.
moment. Yeah. I remember, again, just being a bit nervous, just because it was quite a big stage and I'd never played on anything like that before, other than like with an orchestra, and that's very different, as you can imagine, from being like exposed when there's just like 4 or 5 of you on stage. But yeah, I just remember that moment, getting there and then just going on stage. It was all very smooth.
It was super efficient, and look, I guess it's got to be, isn't it, a festival that size? Even like on one of the side tents, the left field is a pretty major stage at Glastonbury. So it's going to be slick, isn't it? You know, it's not going to be like your average gig. And I guess because we'd only been a band together for a very short amount of time, we were all a bit swept up in it, really. Anyway, I do remember the call to go on stage. I clearly remember that. We were probably just hanging around in this porta cabin. And
Had we done a sound check at that point?
there was no sound check.
There was a line check
The line check was
on stage.
on stage before we played. So it was,
Yeah.
we get the call.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, so we get the call. You're going up for a line check. Okay, cool. We go and line check the instruments. We play I think we played a song, you know, and there's about 100 people in the tent and they all cheer like it's the gig. And then the voice comes over the monitor, right, off you go then. So that bit was actually just like any other local gig. Like, that's just how it happens, isn't it? You know, there's no big walk on. You know, the adrenaline's going by at this point and you're just like fully in like performance mode. So bang on stage and then whip through our half an hour set. You know, you never really remember much about the set when you're fully into it, and we were all fully into it. We played like, I'm actually getting goosebumps talking about it. I'm not even kidding. Look at that. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah.
We played like insanely well for the fact that we've been together that long. And there's a video filmed on a potato, which again maybe Lucy might
Pop some of that in.
pop some of that in.
Confess to you that I'm still scared, dude. I might blow my life apart, end up dead. Should I trust you to always watch my back? Ready for you, yeah, hold me in your arms. I'll be ready for you, but I roll them triumphs down. Don't be ready for
There wasn't that many people there to watch us, was there?
Yeah, it was. It could have been a venue about quarter of the size, but it was. You know, I think it's just the buzz of actually being there and playing. You know, such a well-renowned festival.
The main thing was, like any festival show, as any, you know, musician that isn't sort of Coldplay will tell you, is as long as there's more people there when you finish.
It's a good gig.
Then you've had a good gig, and there definitely was.
Yeah,
and like
People dancing, enjoying it.
Yeah, and like all of our friends were like on the barrier.
Yeah.
Like that just happened to have tickets to the festival, so that was cool.
I'm pretty sure one of your friends had like full Spider-Man makeup on.
Smash a little picture of that up now. Shout out Comedy Savage.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul Savage. And yeah, so there you go. Like gig, organisation, and fun element. 10 out of 10. It was like I'd highly recommend it.
So, after the gig, what happened next? I'm pretty sure that we got swept into a bit of a sort of backstage bar.
You come basically, and it was really cool actually. Again, it was a moment like we felt like, oh wow, this is really cool.
We've made it.
So we came off stage. Again, we didn't touch our gear. I came off. Our gear was loaded off the stage, and they literally sweep you through into this backstage bar and like present you with a couple of beers, and we were having that beer with none other than Neville Staples from the Specials was in there. So there were members from the Specials in there, so that was pretty cool. Because obviously they're sort of Midlands-ish based bands. They're not Midland. They are a Midlands-based band.
Yeah, no, actually, now you say it, I do remember that. I've got photos somewhere. I'll slot them in.
Yeah, and we're obviously all just absolutely buzzing. You know, we nailed the gig, and like that's what we wanted. That's what we came there to do. And from then, you know, it was Friday night at Glastonbury, and the weekend was wide open. We had one more show to do the following day, which was a little radio session for Worthy FM, funnily enough.
Nice Saturday afternoon session.
But that was until Saturday afternoon, so
Yeah.
Friday night was our own.
Yeah.
And we basically, by the time we had a few beers, free beers, at the hospitality bar
It was time for like the headline act.
festival.
wasn't it?
So we all mooched over to the Pyramid stage
Yeah.
and watched Kings of Leon, who were the Friday night headliner. And that was fun.
Yeah. It was really fun. And that's about all I can remember of that night because we'd had so many free beers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember a couple other things. What was great was that we had access. Obviously, you get your little pass, left field pass, and we had access to that backstage all weekend. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah. So you could. I mean, we didn't push the free beer angle, but like, what's the one thing that everybody talks about at Glastonbury? When apart from the rain, the second thing is
the toilets. Yeah, horrendous.
So
I've been there as a punter, so I can tell you it is not pretty in comparison to what we had on this weekend, which was VIP loos.
yeah. So we had access to those. I mean, there was only about 10 there as well.
Yeah.
10 little portaloos back at the back of the left field, but we had access to them all weekend. So anytime the call of nature occurred, we're not slumming that. We're flashing that backstage pass, and we're going backstage. I seem to remember that you could basically turn up and there was just crates of Red Stripe everywhere. Red Stripe is a beer, and so you could, if you were running out of money or whatever, you could basically just go back there and help yourself. Well, I might have done that.
I don't remember that.
And so that was the Friday. It was it was very good fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, all made our way back to our campsite. What happened to the gear? Like, the one thing that I worry about at every show is, where's the gear going?
Yeah. That's it, and it was all labelled up. Like there was stickers on everything of ours with like Young Runaways written on it, and so I guess it just ended up going back on that little buggy thing, and we would have gone back to the van with it, I presume, before going to see the main band. As I say, it was like that is very much. I think because you just buzz in after the gig, all those little details just kind of pass you by,
but again, that was all sorted out. We didn't have to think about that. So the Glastonbury gig for us is done. We wake up on the Saturday. We've done what we came to do, and we've got a little radio session Saturday afternoon. But we knew that was going to be pretty relaxed. It was an acoustic session. We used to do a lot of acoustic sessions, maybe more than we used to get booked for maybe more acoustic gigs than electric gigs at that point, didn't we? Like that year.
Yeah. Especially since I joined like with the violin, I think it kind of put us in this new kind of slot almost, as far as like the kind of folk music, that type of stuff.
Well, there was a lot of that stuff going on, and there was a lot of that. A lot of that was really unplugged shows, or just it'd be me and Graham and Lucy, and that's what that was. So again, it was bit of breakfast, basically, get ready, and it was super easy again. It was really efficient. We went over there and did the little radio session. It was like a 4-song
It was
session.
like a sort of 1 p.m, 2 p.m ish.
Yeah, and we get over there, and the fun again. The Glastonbury weird thing about this is the final Glastonbury weird thing, is that Lucy had been on about this artist Seth Lakeman. That she loved, who's a violin player. And
I think I'd already seen him the day before. I'd just about managed to catch his set on Friday. Yeah, or maybe it was, I don't know. Yeah, Friday.
So we turn up for the radio session, and we're sort of waiting around in a bit of a queue of people to do it.
And we can see there's kind of a bit of a schedule. The woman who's like planning it all has written down like the names of like the bands, and we can see, and we can see just after us, it just says Seth. There's nothing else,
Seth.
No like surname or anything, just Seth. And I was like,
flash up a picture of Seth.
and I said to the woman, I was like, is that Seth Lakeman? And I was quite excited. I'd sort of struggled to contain my excitement.
And he was after us, right?
Yeah,
so
he was after us.
So now I understand what happens, right?
That's it.
So we did our show.
Yeah,
which
played
again,
like It was about 15, 20 minutes.
was really
set.
cool. And by this point, Seth has arrived, and I've already, been at the hospitality tent a little bit. And I just bowled straight over to him, and I was like, "Our violin player is a massive fan of you." And
I was very embarrassed.
So I called Lucy over, and then there's a photo, which hopefully you've got, which will flash up now, of Lucy with the main man,
none other than
Seth Lakeman. And again, brilliant. He was lovely. Everyone was really nice at Glastonbury. That is the.
We stayed for his set.
We stayed for his set. That was awesome to see that up close. He was like, he's phenomenal, obviously. But that's like the overriding memory of Glastonbury for me, apart from like playing, was how nice everybody is. Like there's no trouble, like what you're expecting, but there was no rudeness or shortness, or everybody went out of their way to accommodate you, and it was just a good vibe all weekend basically.
Yeah, it was really good.
And then we had the Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday to ourselves. Like basically, that was it then, wasn't it? Like
Yeah.
just enjoy the rest of the weekend.
We were professionally speaking done at that point, weren't we? Mm-hmm. And then we were just packed the gear away, I guess, and spent the rest of the weekend as punters. And that really is the end of the Glastonbury adventure.
Who played on the Saturday?
Saturday was Jay-Z.
It was, and we saw Amy Winehouse just before
we
that.
saw the famous Amy Winehouse.
Famous punch.
The famous Amy Winehouse set
Yeah.
where she assaulted a fan.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah, I think that.
Not seeing her punch the fan. Again, it's known, 2008 is known to be one of the weaker years, but
It was, and also it didn't sell out. Like, it was one of the few years where there was still tickets available.
which is mad, isn't it? You think about it now, like how
imagine that.
it's totally oversubscribed these days, and probably a different experience all round. But that was our Glastonbury experience. So we stayed on the Saturday night. Woke up Sunday, it was super hot on the Sunday, I remember. Really, really hot on the Sunday. And by Sunday late afternoon, I think the adrenaline of the whole thing had just worn off, and we were just all absolutely knackered.
I actually have a memory of watching The Verve on TV when I got home, which is a bit sad when you think about, you've gone to the festival and then you don't even stay for the headline on a Sunday, but we were just so tired, weren't we?
So we packed up and we drove home in time to see The Verve. I presume they went on about 9
p.m, yeah.
And we were back home in Wolverhampton at that point, which is kind of wild when you think about it. But I have no regrets about that.
No.
We'd had our fun by that point, and actually, it was it felt like the right time to go. Plus, we had a 4-hour drive, which me and Graham were splitting, and it was. I just remember on the way home, it was just silence in the van. Everybody, literally everyone apart from me and Gray, was asleep. And we had a lovely discussion, and we really felt like this was the start of potentially something really good for us as a band. But actually, as it turned out, it was in a way the end of one era of Young Runaways.
Kind of the beginning of the end.
And
that sounds dreadful, but
no. Yeah, it was the beginning of the end of that era of Young Runaways, which so you look back and you go, actually that's a pretty good way to put a cherry on the top of the cake. We should probably just do a quick Glastonbury experience review. The competition, Battle of the Bands generally, it's that's a pretty it divides people, doesn't it? I've always, we did them when we were kids. If you take it for what it is, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. That Battle of the Bands resulted in us having a free weekend at the Glastonbury Festival, and we played it. People asked, "Do you get paid?" No, we didn't get paid at all for Glastonbury, but 5 times the ticket price. That's what we got paid, and we'll have that forever. And again, I wasn't salty about that at the time, and I'm still not really. I don't. It's not why I got into it. No, I think it'd be different if you were a touring band and it was your living. But we were not a band when we.
No, we barely had a band. Like, as I say, I joined when you found out about it. So.
Yeah. So it was kind of almost like a
real
slightly touristy experience in a way, just like. But we obviously nailed the music, and that side of it went really well. And the festival, I've never been back. You've been back.
I've been back once with friends, but it wasn't the same. It's just
it's never going to be, is it?
There's something about like playing there that's just so special. Yeah. I just think it's one of those things. Like, if you can do it, definitely do it.
Yeah,
like,
as an experience, for a musician, 100% recommended. Enter the competition, why not? If it's still going, I think it is. Get on it, why not? It certainly didn't do us any harm as a band. We were able to, once you've got that on the CV, really, we got a lot of coverage locally, and it didn't do us any harm, as I say. So overall, we look back on that with incredibly fond memories.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Would recommend. That was how we played Glastonbury
2008.
and what it's like as an artist, a very small artist, to do that. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back very soon with another one. Please subscribe and give the video a like if you liked it. Bye.
Bye.